Diefenbaker has been criticized for scuttling a Canadian-made technological marvel, and that was the Avro Arrow, and basically driving a generation of scientists and engineers who'd been associated with the project to build the fighter aircraft to move to greener pastures in the United States. Was the Avro Arrow a mistake in canceling it, in ending that project? Was that one of his biggest political mistakes?
So there were certainly political consequences to it, and the loss of Canadian talent, those who worked on the aircraft, is lamentable. The decision itself to cancel the Avro Arrow was the right decision.
Why?
For a number of reasons. First of all, it was the decision that had been made by the Louis Saint Laurent government. It was the decision of the Canadian military. It was the decision of the Canadian bureaucracy that they had made prior to the 57 election. They just didn't want to announce it because they thought it would be, negatively viewed in the country and potentially could cost them a couple of seats. Diefenbaker had the courage to do what was the right thing to do. The why is, here we're, if not at the peak, we're coming close to the peak of the Cold War. The threat is Russia. And the threat at the time was not that they were going to fly across Russia through Canada with bombers and take out American sites and bomb them. The threat was intercontinental ballistic missiles. The Avro Arrow at the time, or any fighter aircraft, was going to be completely ineffective when it came to dealing with the threat at the time. It was missiles, the Beaumark missile and others, where the military wanted to make their investment to stand up to the military threat at the time. The Avro Arrow was a white elephant. It had increased in price to produce a plane to an astronomical level, a ridiculous level. There was only a few prototypes that were ever developed. What was impressive about it was the speed that the plane could fly at, although it never carried any weapons. And the only way that it could have been remotely feasible for the Canadian government to pursue this is if there had been a worldwide demand for this aircraft. If we had developed something that no one else had ever seen before, and they came knocking at our door. Well, we couldn't sell one damn plane. There was no interest in it whatsoever. And in fact, the whole program had been infiltrated by a spy at that point, although that's not why they canceled it. It was a glorious project and a feat of engineering that was completely and totally ineffective and useless. The fault was when they canceled it, how could they have retained that talent in Canada? Much of it went to NASA and to Boeing. And to that, Diefenbaker offered generous transition plans to try to keep that talent here, but the company effectively closed up shop overnight as soon as that aircraft was canceled, and they would not cooperate with the federal government on the transition plan. So it was the right decision, although that didn't stop the CBC, the place you used to work at, from producing, I think, their highest rated documentary of all time on the Avro Arrow that fictionalized the story that created folk heroes, even brought up Dan Aykroyd to play the CEO of the airline company.
Well, he is from Ottawa. He is from here.
Dan Aykroyd. So, great actor, and it got great ratings, but it was a work of slander. This wasn't nation building by the CBC. This was kind of pandering to the anti-Diefenbaker sentiments and creating a work of fiction, but they did the country no favor when they produced that series.
You've been listening to a clip of In Bed with the Elephant with me, your host, Adrian Harewood. Be sure to check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. And please be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast and write a review. We love hearing from you.